In this world, angels live among us. Many great invincible beings of immeasurable power, a bridge between us and the gods. These creatures are not as you might imagine them. While some are human-like in their appearance, most are alien. A sitting mountain, a giant boar, a hovering sphere. Each of the angels provides a powerful boon to the surrounding area and its inhabitants. They do not speak to us. They do not move. We built our world around them. They shaped our cultures. We rely on them. Until something dark came along. Now, one by one, the angels have been slain. The people of the lands around them slaughtered. A wave of death is spreading across our world. Only a few places remain as a final bastion of life. Only a few against an endless horde of oblivion. And within these few, a single band of unlikely heroes, bound by forces beyond their understanding. In this world, there is only a single word that describes their soul-bound connection.
Sia and Jilden, you witness Thrak take a hold of the capstan here in this magical tower, in this area where the wheel that is turning or wasn't turning underneath the tower of Eternal Nexus is. As you see Thrak take hold of this capstan, immediately his eyes roll up into his head. Slowly, there is a distortion around the area where he stands that begins to take place. The arcane energy of the room starts to quicken and deepen. There is a sort of heaviness to the room all of a sudden, a pressure almost like gravity, but more. Similarly, Cirrus places her hand into the pool of mana below the wheel, and her eyes take on a strange blue-green glow. After a moment, the wheel itself begins to shudder. Dum, 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 dum. The rumbling causes these bizarre distortions in the room, these fractal shifts, this sort of odd ink blotting of reality in the room around you. As you look, you sort of, one moment you see the room, the next you see this sort of distant and bizarre location, this odd blend as the room starts to shift and change around you. Thrak immediately starts looking worse. His face seizing, the veins on his face and arms bulging. There is foam at the edges of his mouth. We see Sia dart across the room, fearless. The moment you make contact with Thrak, there's a moment of static shock that you feel, Sia, but you wrench Thrak away from the capstan, the two of you tumbling across the floor of the room. At the same moment, a second figure appears in the doorway, moving with a blistering speed, his cloak billowing out behind him. The Goliath wizard, Hard, stops at the capstan, his hands making contact with it. His eyes roll up into his head the same way that Thrax did. For the briefest of moments, his body tenses, but he lets go, stepping backwards. He looks over to Cirrus and then turns to you, Jilden, and says,
"Get her hand out of the pool, now!"
Do I have to touch her? I ran over. I stick my staff under her hands and yoink them out of the pool.
Cirrus, make me a wisdom saving throw.
Oh my goodness.
I don't want to touch any of that.
17.
I think that's 3 successes for you. You take a permanent +1 to your Arcana checks on your sheet there. You let me know if you don't know how to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, we see Jildan sort of wrench Cirrus's hand out. It isn't like she's sort of caught in this thing. Her hand comes loose freely. Cirrus kind of collapses to the ground. Thrak is completely unconscious.
Okay, down there. Stop fanning Cirrus.
Hard looks about the room and begins to speak to Jildan and Sia. However, sometime later, Cirrus, you come too. The room sort of immediately spinning around you as if waking from a very deep sleep, not like a I'm drunk and I just got home sort of spin. It feels as though you've been asleep for days. There is a heaviness to your muscles. There is a very bizarre sense of confusion. You don't know where you are. The room doesn't look familiar to you. You kind of roll over. You realize you're not even on a bed. You're just on a sort of makeshift cot, sitting for the most part on just piles of books. There's a kind of rolled up bedroll that has been placed underneath your neck and head. As you sort of shuffle and come to, there is a smell of freshly baked bread and cakes that fills your nostrils. There's also a scent of black tea, very strong. Across the room, at a small table, one table leg sitting on the trapdoor that leads down into the basement is Hard, Jildan, and Sia. Before them, there is an assortment of food, bread, cakes, meats. Each of them has a wooden mug, and behind them is a pot of boiling tea sitting on the kitchen countertop. For you two, Hard has been oddly unforthcoming with direct information to your experience or anything you might have questioned him about what has happened here. While Thrak and Cirrus have been asleep, he sort of repeatedly claims that he's going to explain everything when everyone else is awake, and then he would just start talking to you about really strange things. And the way he speaks is very odd. He doesn't really speak about normal things like the weather. He'll speak about very specific things that don't make any sense to you, or he'll speak about items, maybe. I think probably he would maybe have had a conversation with you, Sia, about strange artifacts around the world, certain things that do strange things. As he pours you each a cup of very, very thick black tea, no milk or sugar or anything. He's just giving you this very dark ochre liquid. He places a spoon into one of the mugs and then just lets it go, and it begins to slowly stir the mug. He takes it out, puts it into the other one, and turns it around like that. He looks at you, Sia, and says,
You can have that if you want.
My thanks. I take the cup, but wait until Jildan has a sip first before I sip mine.
I drink half the cup.
yeah, I mean, it is
Well, I try.
it is
Thick, right?
very bizarre, acrid black tea. But it's kind of energizing. The way it makes you feel after a few minutes, you feel kind of good. It gives you a little energy. It gives you a little focus. If you feel any sort of ache from the travel of the maze or the struggle of the day, it kind of dissipates. It's quite relaxing and focusing, this strange tea. But it doesn't taste very nice, he says.
It is a taste that you will get used to, but it is very good for you. Make you feel awake and focused.
I don't want to get used to it. I just put some honey in there.
You can try. It will not work. I have tried many different things. Alchemy was a subject that I was usually quite good at when I was a boy, but now it is... there is something wrong with this mixture. The effect is correct, but the taste, nothing I can do.
It's not made with love, that's the problem. Everything I cook ends up like this as well. It's a well-known issue. Let me know if you ever figure it out.
I think I subtly take a sip of mine after Jilden does and doesn't keel over. And I think I'm surprised by the flavor. Maybe I mentioned something about it tasting a bit more like home.
It's very bitter. He suddenly looks past your shoulder, Sia, and his eyes lock with Cirrus as she rolls over, and he says,
Ah, so you are finally awake.
Yes.
Do you
Are we gonna
feel
cross now?
all right?
How long have I been out?
Perhaps an hour.
Then I feel like I've slept for days.
Yes. Your hand, how does it feel?
feels fine, looks the same as it should.
Yeah, it's fine.
Good. Come, if your legs will hold you, you can have a mug of this. I think you will need it more than your companions.
I wouldn't go that far. It's nice though. You'll like it. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if you like this kind of thing, but I like it, so if you don't, I'll have it.
Thank you.
That was quick.
How much do I remember?
All of it.
I get up on shaky legs, and I don't know if they're shaky because I'm exhausted or because of what happened.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters.
He's watching you. The Goliath in front of you is kind of he's kind of odd looking. There's a lot of Goliaths in this town. For the most part, they're very large, plain looking individuals in terms of their features. They generally have similar skin tones. They generally have similar body builds, and that goes for men, women, and everything in between. They're kind of roughly the same heights and builds and sizes. There isn't a huge amount of difference. It's just one of the things about having giant's blood that seems to permeate through Goliaths, or at least the Goliaths here in Moon. For the most part, everybody here has sort of a grey stone-like skin tone and texture. Their skin is quite thick and honestly ashy. It protects against the snow and the cold. This Goliath, however, Hard is a little different. He's a little smaller, a little shorter, a little thinner. Most Goliaths don't have any hair. Hard has a beard, a sort of shaped beard. A lot of Goliaths don't really need to wear a lot of clothing. They don't feel the cold. They wear a lot of barbaric looking clothing, the same thing you might find in Conan, you know, kind of wraps and simple thongs and throngs that run around their legs, and generally speaking they don't wear a lot of clothing, whereas Hard is wearing robes, these thick red robes that run over his back with a hood on it. He's got all these different layers underneath. Some of the cloistered clerics and things have similar robes, but Hard seem kind of, it seems like a fashion statement. He has lots of little trinkets and baubles and pouches that are hanging off of the robes. Underneath the robe, now that you three probably see him for the first time, at least this close, and in a casual setting, you can see that he's wearing multiple chains of different colored metals. Just chain links, simple links, but some of them are green, some of them are blue, some of them gold, silver. Just underneath and around his neck, as if he has several necklaces on. What might be hanging from them, or what they really are, is for the most part concealed underneath his robes. He has lots of rings on his hands as well, and a lot of Goliaths have tattoos and scarification, and he has seemingly none. Nothing like that on his body. And a lot of these guys get tattoos young. They end up getting them as mid-teens and things. So he's kind of an odd-looking Goliath when it comes to most of the Goliaths here. But he's watching you with a sort of an unconcealed intenseness as you stand up and start moving across the room. After you take a few steps, he seems satisfied with something, and then just goes back to thinking about something else or pottering around on the table.
I imagine he looks quite princely to me, based on how much he's wearing, huh?
Yeah, he he is maybe the only person in town with a fashion sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone else just it's very practical more than anything, just covering the right bits.
I don't think I like it or trust it.
I mean, the place
yeah.
that you're in, the room that you're in, is the kind of kitchen living area. There are books
Yeah.
everywhere. For the most part, there's books and scrolls and paper. There's runic etchings and scribbles and things, even on the walls and stuff like that. The place is, it looks like a uni student common room, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It just looks like a bomb has hit this thing. There's stuff everywhere, little bits and pieces, old bits of sticks and magical components and things just left all over the place. Even with access to spells that would tidy this place quickly, it seems like neither him nor Thrak tend to do so, focusing much more on their studies, and any second you spend casting a thaumaturgy over here or a cleaning spell over there is a second that is wasted when you could be reading another page in a book and learning a new spell. However, he seems very relaxed right now, as if he is just kicking back with old friends, chit-chatting away.
All right.
Thrak, when you awaken, you feel god-awful. Where Cirrus just feels sort of kind of tired. You would probably feel as though you you went through something. I don't know exactly how you would describe it. I don't know if it would be a physical thing, which is where I stopped myself there. I think it would be more like a mental thing, like you've been through some sort of really rough few days. Maybe a little headachy, maybe a little pain, a sensation physically, but for the most part, I think what you have is a killer migraine, and a bizarre sense of self. You experienced and touched the weave of pure knowledge, really. Your understanding of magic has grown immensely in the last few episodes, really, but the understanding of that weave and the 8 schools of magic was just the beginning. What felt like breaking through and being able to essentially read the matrix code, when you first picked that up and first started to weave those things into the capstan, understanding which school of magic went where and how to see them, understand them, process them, and interface with them, actually broke away eventually. You saw everything. You saw everything that there was to know. You reached out and you were able to touch knowledge itself. Knowledge not to be confused with understanding, but answers, just simple answers to questions that were, for the most part, logical. However, that power is completely gone. You're back to being yourself. While the information that you gained, you still have, everything else doesn't make sense again. This is a Flowers for Algernon thing, where you experienced complete understanding or complete knowledge, and then you've come back down. So even though you had the answers, maybe some of the equations and some of the ways of figuring out how to get there have all but gone now. Predominantly, however, you're generally fine. There isn't, at least there doesn't seem to be any sort of long-lasting damage here. There doesn't seem to be any physical issues. I think you just feel like you had a horrible night. Again, same as for Cirrus, you can smell what smells like fresh bread and cakes and the familiar scent of that black tea that Hard is always working on and brewing, that he drinks relentlessly. I don't know whether you do as well. This would be up to you, but he drinks it all the time. It gives him some focus. It does kind of work. He's obsessed with drinking a cup of that and then working, drinking a cup of that, doing another bit of work. Maybe if you drink a cup of that, instead of sleep an extra hour, you could do a little more work. That's kind of his ethos. But you can sense all those smells, and you can kind of hear some chitter chatter from downstairs, as if first of all, that would sound strange to you, because very rarely does Hard have any sort of company like that. And second of all, you recognize it's the voices of those few individuals that you were recently tasked with going on little adventures and journeys and quests with, one of them being Cirrus, who you know from town, but the other two being the kind of strangers who only recently got here. What do you do?
I use my staff to sort of help stand up and stretch, and then I'll make my way to the noise of conversation.
Do you drink this drink that he drinks?
No, I have once, and I found that it made certain urges and impulses of mine hard to resist.
Right. In that case, there isn't a mug waiting for you when you come down the stairs. Hard fixes you with a look as you come down the sort of circular stairway. It's a slow process. You can all hear very clearly Thrak moving across the room above and then stepping down each of the steps. There's a creaking to it, the thud of his staff as he moves down. He's moving kind of awkwardly. He looks like he probably just would look hungover to anyone else from the outside as he makes his way down the stairs relatively slowly. As soon as your face and your eyes are within view, Hard is kind of looking at you with a not too dissimilar stare that he was giving Cirrus, a sort of seriousness to his face and his looks. Hard's actually kind of silly. He's kind of a silly old guy a lot of the time. He's kind of making silly jokes and being he seems painfully relaxed sometimes at the most important moments. The most serious I think you've ever seen him be was in the previous episode when he was straining and holding on to some sort of spell, which was the ice shard holding the wheel together. He watches you as you step down the steps. Before you even say anything, or before he gives you the chance to speak, or you guys have a moment, he simply says,
Well done, all of you. Truly a marvel to have made it through the maze. Perhaps it was the Quura bond.
He's still watching Thrak, but he kind of quickly glances to each of you as he speaks.
What's he talking about? What bond?
You will come to understand it, I am sure. You know, I have studied that mark over countless years, but honestly, I don't really know how it works. It is as
What is he talking about?
much of a marvel as the angels.
Out of character, do we have our marks yet? I don't think we do. This is during the
Yeah, you don't. This doesn't mean anything to you.
No.
You're completely unaware
think
of the
so.
fact that they were testing you at this point. They seemed to be aware of it about a year before, but you don't find out anything until the beginning. You have seen this is about a week or so after the aurora that was across the sky that started off the original Session 0, which you can watch on our membership page if you want to see that. It's canon, but not completely necessary. It's all wrapped up in the first episode.
In which case, I suppose I'll just say, is Quura what you lot here call mechanics? Because you could have told us well in advance what we had to do instead of relying on a proto-drake.
Yes, and you could have been taking much better care of that place instead of relying on us. I mean, God, if I had to take care of those stairs on my own, I'd have had no chance.
What happened to him?
You will figure
The
it
drink.
out.
Sorry, what did you say?
What will happen to him? Yeard.
Well, he will continue to live downstairs. He has been here for longer than I have. He has been here almost as long as the tower itself has stood, which is a very long time. I don't really know how long. I suspect one day Thrak will understand something like this. His specialities are a little different to mine, but I think perhaps Thrak, you will understand time. Perhaps you will even be able to go back. You could meet the builder.
Oh, back in time.
Thrak in time. Ha. How are you feeling,
palm
Thrak?
my closed eyes on my forehead.
I think Thrak is eating some meat, and he's sitting in a chair at this point.
Sorry,
sat
I ate
down.
all the bread. You can have some if you like.
How would I have some if you ate it all?
Well, this is the last piece. But if you don't say something soon, I'm gonna keep eating it. So, do you want some or not? Okay, well, you spoke too soon.
Or not soon enough.
I just continue eating the haunch of meat.
I take it you chose to go deeper into the badger's den rather than finish the task at hand.
I pause for a moment and say, and how often have you journeyed into the den of that particular badger? Odd.
The one who taught me how to use that thing made it very clear not to follow that particular hole in the ground all the way down. It is not for mortal minds. You lasted much longer than I certainly would have. I suspect once again it is the mark.
Do I pick up on what he's saying about a badger den?
I don't know. I don't know if you would necessarily understand. It's entirely up to you, I think. I don't know if it's an insight check moment. I think this is just whether you think that you would understand that they're talking about whatever happened to Thrak or not.
I suppose that much is clear. As for specifics, there's no way I'd know.
No. Certainly no way you'd know specifics.
No.
You were not ready. We knew this, Thrak. But this was unprecedented. What happened here? I am going to figure it out. I think it will take some time. You have other things to get on with. The three of you, I am sure. Look at you all, caked in the miasma of the basement. Perhaps I will clean you all up and let you get on with your days. You all seem to be fine.
I'm sure I can bathe myself, but thank you very much for the offer. I know you don't see many people in here.
You are covered
That's-
in arcane muck. Look again.
Right. I see that, I feel that. However, I don't think I'm keen to enter your arcane bathtub if you are picking up what I'm putting down.
Oh, it is as simple as this.
He clicks his fingers. And although you feel a little bit odd, he instantly wipes your memory of the events of the day. Cirrus, you find yourself at the cloister, where you'd usually be at this time of day. Seer, you find yourself at the communal longhouse lodging. Thrak, you find yourself at the writing desk in the tower. Jilden, getting a foot massage probably. Asleep.
What the hell?
Thrak, you have a pretty killer headache, but as far as you're able to really remember of the day, it was just like any other day. The same would go for the rest of you. At the top of the stairway, Hard opens the door to the top floor, and there's an icy blue light that bathes his face. He turns down the stairwell, and his face sort of hardens for a moment, and he says,
I will see you at the House of Knowledge, my apprentice. If you are truly as masterful as I suspect, you and those with the mark may be the only ones who can unlock the true potential of this tower and save us all.
he walks in, closes the door behind him.
Wriggle struggled to follow them across the snowfields. There were times they vanished altogether, but Wriggle was crafty. Wriggle was quick. He found them again. He would always find them as they disappeared into the big mountain. It was like his home there, but filled with vibrant red life. Wriggle could hear it, singing. It called to him, that river of life. But Wriggle closed his ears to it. He followed them out into the broken woods. It was warm here, too warm for Wriggle. He missed the snow and the ice, but he followed them. He would always follow them. They struggled to find the magical forest, but Wriggle did not. Wriggle followed, cautious. The mirror. The other Wriggle lived inside the mirror. Is the bad Wriggle in here now?
Back to the present now. Hidden deep within the No-Lands forest, behind a shimmering magical barrier, lies the House of Knowledge, which is a sort of small, vibrant oasis of life in a sea of desolation. The party had previously stepped through the secret magical barrier from the oppressive gloom of the blighted No-Lands forest and the generally blighted world, vanishing and appearing in a place that is bathed in wonderful warm sunlight. There are flowers of every hue blooming in abundance here. They fill the air with a sweet fragrance. There are birds singing merrily in the branches of all of the trees here, covered in green leaves that whisper softly in a gentle breeze. There are motes of pure arcane energy and mana that fly through the air, just sitting there, floating endlessly on the wind, on that breeze. Being here immediately provides each of you with the ability to hear one another's surface thoughts. At first, Thrak struggled to command the overwhelming amount of information. However, the rest of you, with this ability, were able to recognize that the two elves that accompanied you across, Elaine and Morgana, were actually working against you. They were undead beings working for your enemy. And after discovering how to access the House of Knowledge, you fought with one another. You slayed Elaine as Morgana fled, I think. Don't know, can't remember, it was so long ago and I've been very ill, but I'm pretty sure you slayed Elaine and Morgana fled. Appearing towards the end of that fight and sort of standing gracefully among the vibrant flora is this enormous phase stag, this creature of pure ethereal beauty. Its body is sleek and delicate, with this fur that seems woven from moonlight itself. It's radiating a soft golden glow in the sunshine. The phase stag has these huge eyes that are luminescent. They're a sort of deep medallion colored golden color that reflects ancient magic. And as this phase stag moves, the antlers sort of hum with a faint musical resonance. There is a harmony with the forest's enchantments, the magic, the life, and the fey creatures that live here. And they're so in tune, they quite literally make music and resonance. Each step that it takes leaves a faint shimmering trail of sort of radiant energy. There are points where you see a hoof sort of hit the ground beneath, and the area around the hoof blooms momentarily with iridescent flowers before fading back into that sort of lush greenery. This stag's appearance is almost kind of surreal after everything that you've sort of witnessed and been through, after the world that you've been walking through over the last few months. Pretty much just death at every turn. To be presented with something that is so very, very alive, and being in this place of life is maybe a little kind of odd. It pauses and it's gazing at you guys after it had called down a radiant bolt of energy, and it had seen off the witch, the undead elf, and you can see this creature is sort of breathing. Its breath mingling with the air produces this sort of luminous mist, but what you can hear is its thoughts, because you can hear each other's thoughts, surface thoughts, but predominantly you can hear Thrak's thoughts. Thrak is struggling so much with this ability. The creature is speaking with Thrak, and though you three can hear it, it's not super clear. This isn't the same as speaking exactly. It's almost like tapping into radio frequencies, but without the static. You're just kind of catching up on things. And while you understand when this creature speaks, and even when each other might speak in air quotes, or when you're picking up on each other's thoughts or the creatures of this forest's thoughts, while you will understand it and I will be speaking with words, in reality you're speaking not just with words and picking up on thoughts that are words and thoughts in that way, but with feelings and images. So some of what is coming through are feelings, images, and projections. So when you hear the phase stag speak, Thrak, that is what you're picking up on, but it is speaking to you. Again, you are struggling right now. You're just getting thoughts from everything, and you're getting these weird flashes of images, even from the birds and the creatures that are here, especially from the three that are closest to you. And then also there's this phase stag that speaks to you, and it says,
"Focus your thoughts. Follow the sound of my voice through the underbrush of your mind. Your mind is fractured. It's not about shutting out the voices, it's about understanding the magic."
You can make me an Arcana check, Thrak. A 12.
12.
Something clicks for you here. This creature, this area, and all of the ways that you got here begin to piece together. When you figured out how to gain access to the House of Knowledge, it was through the same process that you approached the wheel. You, even the trapdoor, you saw the thread, you plucked at the right parts of it, and used them. It isn't like you're commanding them exactly, but you're able to, like a tool, use them to achieve whatever means it is that you're aiming for. In most cases, it's a very rudimentary, and I think this is part of your understanding. The spells that you've been learning, casting and writing over and over again, practicing, perfecting, it's actually quite rudimentary, the way that you do it. You're like a child, sort of chaotically bludgeoning at this weave. Every now and then you'll strike the right thread, evocation, you'll cast a fireball, abjuration, you'll cast a shield, something like that. Your understanding of magic is beginning to shift. When you came through this barrier, and when this stag tells you it's not about the voices, it's about understanding the magic, you begin to piece together these elements again. And you now remember all of the events of the previous session with the wheel. The memory wipe. That day that was taken from you temporarily by Hard. The understanding, the knowledge that you learned, what the tower is, and how it can be potentially used to a degree. He didn't give you everything, but he gave you an idea. And in doing so, not only do you understand how the capstan works with the wheel, how you're able to use those threads and move the tower, how you're able to access the House of Knowledge, and how you're able to now understand what you are doing right now is where the others are. Where the others have access to this radio station, you know how the radio fucking works. You could build one. You understand the divination and the psychic energy required to cast a message spell or a detect thought spell and that kind of thing. And that's kind of what's happening here. Though the magic is very complex because there are more than just 8 schools of magic. The 8 schools of magic are just really the only way that your tiny mortal mind can comprehend it. But there are other ways of interpreting that magic, and there are other forces and frequencies, one of which being the sort of very pure arcane energy that is being emanated from the angels themselves. The magic of this place. The spell that is the barrier is not angel magic. That was placed by someone. Presumably a group, or presumably even more likely the Fey Stag and the other Fey creatures that are here to protect this forest. But the telepathy, the general sense of life in this place, and now you're realizing, just by being in such close proximity to it, just the knowledge. You were able to figure out this barrier because you're next to the angel of knowledge. This thing is the angel Cerridwen, who is the angel to the god of knowledge, Ogma, which is where my brain went when I almost said the word orange. So you, being a wizard and a scribe and somebody who has devoted your life to learning, just understand a little better here. It's just you're just in tune with that knowledge, that understanding. So some of this is just coming to you a little quicker. You're able to just piece together things a little better. You have, while you're in the House of Knowledge, advantage on any Arcana checks that you make. The Fey Stag is not the angel, by the way, just in case that was what you thought it might be. But yeah, you now understand this. The others do not have their memory. Would you like to grant them their memories back?
How quickly and easily? I'm running on instinct here, but how quickly and easily would that be?
Well, it's going to come down to a skill check, but Right now, pretty easy for you. You understand the spell that Hard cast over all four of you. One part of that spell is that it can be broken by you.
Right.
He gave you the keys to once you figured out all of this stuff, you can reverse
So I
engineer
have
his spell.
all of my memory has been restored, and I completely understand how because of that I understand more about the threads you were speaking of and the threads that defended this place. Is that right?
Yep.
That still defend this place.
You're free to interpret that however you want as well. I'm just kind of interpreting it the way that I might, but Thrak might see all of that in a completely different way. It's entirely, if you want to see it as an ocean, you can.
I actually think he sees it as streams. It's kind of like threads, but they're moving, and you can place your hand in the stream of power and with concentration pull out the right string, the right stream of power that's interwoven into all these other streams, like water in your hand, but also a string, and you pull at it. But I think the first thing he does is he speaks to the stag, and with his mind warns him. Well, actually, no. Does he even realize that the two creatures... I don't think he even knows that those two creatures were evil at this point. I think he was writhing on the ground while all that was happening.
I mean, that's up to you, yeah. It was a pretty quick skirmish in terms of rounds, so, the other three dealt with them pretty quickly.
He would look around and then attempt to... He would say, we've forgotten something, and then he would restore their memories.
Yeah, make me an Arcana check with advantage.
A 24.
24, didn't need advantage. How do you undo this spell? It's you're essentially doing a dispel magic spell casting here.
Yeah, I just sort of if I concentrate, I can see these streams of water flowing around it looks like, to give it visual representation for me, I can see it flowing around their heads, and it's just like untying a knot. It's very simple.
Yeah, one by one.
So
you return the memories of that warning to them.
Yeah.
This would be a weird sensation, I think, as well for all of you, as Thrak kind of just does like a little something with his hands, maybe whispers something under his breath.
Pound my staff into a rock as well for each one of them.
As he strikes this rock 3 times, one by one, each of you, you regain this memory of a day. I don't know if it would necessarily just like come back to you like you were, like he hits play on a video for you, but you do just get this memory back of this very important day that happened over a year ago. And I don't know how you would register that or how that would feel for you, but it does happen.
I feel for Sia, for myself, it'll almost feel as if, you know how sometimes you can be daydreaming, then all of a sudden remember something that happened to you a few days ago, or like, you're thinking about something in the past. It's like that, but in reverse, because like I'm thinking about something else entirely, and all of a sudden my mind just immediately goes back to that day, and I reach down into my belt pocket. I pull out this, you've seen it before, this pure white rectangular slab. I then peel it open. It appears to be a book, and I filter through it, it's gossamer white pages full of pink prints and dots and stuff on it. And I go back to that day. And for some reason, it looks like that entire page, or like not a page, but a line is missing. And I never questioned it. And now I know.
Yeah, I think maybe each of you has a similar experience. The phase stag is moving towards you. And at first it was a decent ways off, but as it gets closer, you actually recognize the size of this thing. It's standing maybe 15, 16 feet tall, not including the antlers, which then go up even further by a few more feet. It's moving closer to you. You get senses off of this thing again, because you can't help but feel how each other feel how the phase stag feels, somewhat in tune with the area around you. The phase stag does not appear to be and does not feel afraid of you, but is moving towards you cautiously. Part of the reason being that there was a skirmish that happened here. There is this kind of ashen corpse of this elf draped in this old looking robe. The green leaves that were making up a sort of adornments on this elf's body have rotten away, and what is sitting there now is kind of just a desiccated corpse. You'd think that she'd been laying there for a year, 2 years, just nothing. There's no real flesh to speak of. It's just kind of like leathered skin over bones with this ragged looking clothing, an awkward bow sitting to one side of her, and then some of her bits and pieces kind of like scattered around. You can see that they had a bag on them, but the things that fell out are old and rotten. The phase stag is kind of moving towards this thing, and you get this sense coming from the phase stag that this creature is almost a perversion of the House of Knowledge. But you also get the sense that there are bigger things and more important things to deal with right now than his personal grievance with this undead thing that has appeared in his forest.
There is a sense of there's a sense of raw anger rolling off of Jildan right now, but she stays silent.
Yeah, I look like I'm a million miles away. I'm not really comprehending what's happening at the moment. I'm not really here.
I look to the corpse and say, what happened?
That thing, it died. No thanks to you.
I'd like you to make a educated guess as to what happened.
I speak to this stag telepathically and ask him the same question.
The
Gesturing to
stag, looks towards you, Thrak, to the corpse, and again, you can all hear these conversations. You do have a semi understanding of this. If you don't want your thought, if you want to private message someone, you can, but just casual telepathic thought you'll probably be able to pick it up as long as you're close enough to the person doing it. The phase stag says,
It traveled with you. This thing, it is dead.
It was not dead. When it came with us, I'm asking, what happened to make it look like this?
It has been dead for a long time.
Yes, thoughts start running through his mind.
The face stag sniffs the corpse a little bit, and you actually all get the sense of rotten stench of death from this thing.
Are you asking who killed it or who charred it up like a bad barbecue?
I was asking how it came to be like this. It didn't look like this before she was alive.
Before the world ended, were you not deceived at least once in your life?
Yeah, I'm not gonna answer him, obviously. I'm just... He's just thinking right now, himself.
He awaits you at Cerridwen.
We should go then. I look frantically towards the other three.
The face stag starts moving immediately. You get immediately the sense that that it just took that as an acknowledgement and almost a command, and turns around and begins to walk away from you back the way it came.
We still
Leading
have
you.
we still have an other here with us. Will we truly be safe here? Or must we
don't
watch
think
our
there's any-
back?
I don't think it really matters, Seer. I think we not turn back, so we might as well move forward.
That is fair, I suppose. At any rate, it makes no matter or difference. We must always have our eyes behind our backs, but their strength is halved, yet at the same time they were able to approach our campfire without making a noise before, and we didn't even think to second guess them.
I suspect
might come
that if
again.
anything... Yes. I suspect that if anything wanted to harm us here, we would be hard-pressed to fight them. I think we do what we can
Understood.
to avoid...
My only concern, the Osiris, is the fact that they came here for a very specific purpose. And even though they've lost one of their number, that purpose has been fulfilled and they know how to get here now. My concern isn't so much to watch our backs, then should we not need to hunt this thing?
Not our
Right.
problem.
I mean,
What do you mean they know? They know.
Right.
well,
I forgot one of them escaped, and we taught them how to get here.
It's not our problem. What are we supposed to do?
it sort of isn't our problem, but at the same time, it kind of is, and it irks me a little bit. I turn to Thrak. Well, you do remember that this had a twin, yes? Well, earlier in the forest, you taught both how to get here. In fact, they helped us get here, significantly. They talked about returning to a master. They talked about getting that knowledge back. So, I don't feel as if this creature is going to wait to strike in the night, unless, of course, they really do want their revenge. But if they are driven by something else, like our fanged friend from before was, who knows? Well, must we needs not chase this creature?
I think that we should help if they need assistance, but an angel waits for us now. And we should not keep it waiting. This is why we came here, is it not?
Yes, exactly.
Who am I to bring up priorities? Lead the way, I say, throwing my hands behind my back and just watching.
Yeah, I'll start following the stag.
Come on, we don't want to lose a 15-foot stag in a beautiful forest or anything. That would be awful.
Yeah.
I follow close behind.
The giant glowing phase stag begins to lead you through the forest. It's only a short ways. He moves through very thick underbrush and moving vines, past all of these colorful birds and bugs under sunlit dappled canopies, before arriving at a clearing. As you step through and kind of into this slight opening of the very thick and overgrown House of Knowledge forest, you immediately notice a shallow pool of water sitting here comfortably, and at the center of it is a perfectly circular mirror, and it is kind of bizarre to look at and witness and see this thing.
I don't see myself in it, do I?
You do. There is.
I shy away from it.
The phase stag doesn't enter the clearing. It just kind of steps at the edge and looks back at you. You get the sense that it's beckoning you forward. But as you see this 15-foot tall mirror sitting in this pool of water at the center of a clearing, it is just thick circular glass. That's all it is. There is a border of mirror around the more plain looking, flat, thin looking glass of the central part of the mirror. But you're looking at mirror upon mirror here, just a weird circle sitting in the grass and in the pool of water at the center of this clearing. And standing next to the mirror is Hard. He is, again, not a particularly large Goliath. He is pretty small for a Goliath, pretty thin. But he seems even thinner than you remember, each of you, from only, less than a year ago, when you last saw him. I think Thrak would pick up on it a lot quicker, but you can see that he's got bags under his eyes that betray a lack of sleep. His hair seems thinner around that beard. The lines in his face are deeper, and his left arm is sitting awkwardly in a sling. You notice that the hand that is hanging loosely from the end of it has been blackened with necrosis. And Hard kind of looks over at each of you, and as you approach the clearing, the phase stag stopping and stepping to one side, he just waves at you, kind of goofy, from the middle of this place. One arm in a sling, the other arm up, waving at you. You kind of just hear him.
Hello? Come on!
This bastard. Who does he think he is?
Now. No need to get indignant.
Don't understand. He took something from us without my permission.
His arm is blackened. Is that what you said? Like necrotic?
Yeah, one of his arms kind of just looks dead in a sling, an awkwardly made sling. You can see, because it's under the robe for the most part, but the fingers and the hand are small and necrotic looking, like they're almost like rotting flesh, or like a little mummy's hand or something. It looks kind of desiccated.
I turn to Cirrus and say, I think you have a brother in fashion.
Yeah, I look down at both of my hands, both of which are now black as well. blackened, and my one arm, which is sort of tucked away and is also blackened. I think the black is spread further up the other arm than it is my beefy arm.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling strange. So strange.
Yeah. You do see your reflections in this mirror, and it's just a plain mirror. There's nothing weird going on immediately. I mean, there is, but you know, it's just a reflection of you guys moving around. You're not seeing anything different inside the mirror. You see him as well. You see his back. He's just kind of in there, waving awkwardly, moving around. He's not. He waves you over. But he's kind of like, he turns back to the mirror and you see his reflection. He starts looking it over. He looks like he's very interested in it. He's moving around it. What do you guys do?
I've turned my back to the mirror.
I'm looking at Thrak.
I thwack Jordan's shell with my staff. Not too hard. Come on. Let's see what he has to say at least.
I walk backwards.
Yeah, we see your reflections moving towards this mirror. And as you get closer, Hard is speaking. And you sort of catch that you recognize that he is speaking at you, but he started before you got there.
This is Cerridwen. Cerridwen. Spelt with a C, though. The Angel of Ogma. The God of Knowledge. The most useful being in this world. For what we face. I really, really hope you guys can communicate with it.
He turns around, a big, wide grin on his face as you approach.
Why the long face?
What are you so happy about?
Well, it is very good to see you all.
How did you even get here?
The tower.
Where is your tower now? Here?
This way.
He points in the sort of the opposite side of the clearing that you came in from, but you don't see a tower, but he just points that direction.
So you're telling me all this God's damn time we could have just got here by tower instead of going through these mountains and through this icy hellscape. You've just arrived here, have you?
Yes. You could have done that. That is, quite true, yes.
My arms are crossed as I look at Hard. My expression isn't necessarily one of giving away any particular emotion. However, to Jordan's reaction to this person, I think I do turn to her and I raise an eyebrow, amused.
You are confused.
I suspect the journey was as important as the destination for us.
Oh, for goodness sake.
You see, this is
Is this your angel?
My angel? No, there are no such things as my angels. We do not own them. Do they own us? I don't think so either. No, this is an angel. Yes? Cerridwen.
I'm sorry, wordsmith. I mean, is this an angel that you would pray to?
I do not pray to the angels. I leave that to Thors and your friends in the monasteries around the world. No, this is simply a creature like you or I. I think Thrak knows more than I do about the angels now. I must pick your brains about it at some point.
I whip to look at him. I look at Thrak like, excuse me? Like, I don't say that, but...
Yes, my
What do you
apprentice
mean?
here, he is very naturally skilled, but he has to learn how to temper his greed for knowledge, as did I, as do we all. There was a time, perhaps you will remember,
He looks at Thrak when he says that, but he's speaking to you, Cirrus, and then his eyes drift over towards you again.
that there was a time that we had to save a wheel.
And then he stares at you, Cirrus, to see if you acknowledge what he's saying.
Yes.
Big
Yes.
smile on his face.
Yes, yes. Well, this day was when Thrak was supposed to just go down and fix the wheel and come back up, and we all have a nice black tea and go our separate ways. But instead, my young apprentice here decided he would learn all of the knowledge of all of time, yes?
I don't think it was that much knowledge, but I did learn a thing or two.
There
Is
we
that why
go.
you kept it from us? You wanted to keep it all for yourself, is that what it is?
What was that?
I
What was
only
that pool?
just remembered just now.
A likely story. I look at him with absolute disdain. I am so pissed with Thrak right now.
See his grin widens, a fang exposed.
The pool was, same as what you have here.
He points at one of the little motes of energy that's just floating around. He just says it to you like you're a child asking a question. You know, like, what's a snake? You know, and you're just like, it's a lizard. And you carry on, you know, doing whatever you're doing.
You're telling me that what I experienced is as simple as a mote of dust?
What did you experience?
It felt like I experienced everything. Beyond any angel.
I do not think this is what you experienced. You merely touched magic. It's pure magic. Like if you were to, before you bake a cake, if you were to touch the egg.
So simple then?
Yes, you and Thor's with your cryptic ways of approaching this. It is simple rules to these things. There are schools of magic. There are tomes and scrolls and lots of information all around that you could pick up and read, but instead you interpret it with your own thoughts and feelings, and it is childish. You and Thor's with your looking to the sky and listening for the trees to tell you what to do when you can just figure it out, as my
Leave
apprentice
her
has
alone!
done.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop saying these things!
Yes.
I'd put a hand on Cirrus's back and pat her.
Well, you see, Thor's put all of his hope into this one, and I put all of my hope into this one. And you see, my apprentice here has done exactly as I expected he would do. He has learned how to turn the wheel.
As much as I am loath to put a halt to this cheerful reunion, what exactly is it that you require of us now that we've reached this place? I say with my arms crossed.
That is a very good question. Perhaps this one also has the abilities to learn rather than feel. This mirror, this angel. Tell me, what do you see inside?
If you glance
He
over, you
asks me
see, you just see
directly.
your reflection and the reflection of what's there.
Okay, I step in front of the mirror, and I look into it. All I see is myself.
All right. Well, perhaps it will be time for us to do a little experiment.
Experiment.
Yes. Are you feeling brave? Fearless?
I narrow my eyes. This entire time, the only eyes I have been using are the ones that in my eye sockets.
Well, I do not want to make you do something that you do not wish to do.
Well, I've made it this far, haven't I?
Ask yourself a question in the mirror.
Any question? I say, turning back to Hard, not at the mirror.
I suspect one that will matter. There is, of course, the chance that this will not work, or perhaps you will get hurt, or perhaps I will be honest. I do not know. The Fey creatures have told me that it is possible. But I do not have the mark of Quura. I am not linked to this angel. I do not have the thread that weaves through all of the life as you do.
Very well. In that case, I turn back to the mirror, and I loosen my robe somewhat to expose the mark of the Quura that's on my chest. And I say, "Oh, great mirror," sort of, taking the piss. "What must we do next?"
Your reflection, we see you undo the top thing, and then we see you say, "Oh, great mirror." Your reflection begins to move independently of you. And the seer in the mirror, while the rest of you remain reflections, the seer in the mirror starts moving of its own accord. You see it put its arms, that seer put his arms behind his back, and look up to the sky and turn back to you, seer, and say, "Well, I suppose, you need to do what you need to do. Aren't you here to save the world?" Or something like that.
I coyly cock my head at this creature in the mirror, and I fold my arms. And I reply, "Very true. And at this moment, what is it we need to do?"
Well, I suppose, and it folds its arms as well, turning its back on you for a moment, pacing around, turning back. And all of you can see and hear this, by the way. It walks up and down and says, "That one is a difficult question to answer, but I would imagine that figuring out how to get that tower to take you to where the spear is would be the first port of call. Then take that spear and I suppose shove it into Mordriel's neck if he's got one."
I release the hold on my arms. My right foot taps towards the creature, and I say, is the spear here? In this realm?"
Last I checked, yes. I believe it was at Ku. At this point, there is a set of sharp pains in your heart. Roll me 3d4 plus 3.
3d4 plus 3. 10.
Reduce your maximum HP by that amount.
Wow. Okay.
You take this damage. Your heart starts to beat in your chest. There is a sharp pain as we see Seer kind of buckle a moment. The reflection shimmers and goes back to being just the reflection of Seer as he reaches up and grabs his heart. Hard is watching you, and he says,
What is happening to you?
Well, I suppose that's the toll. I think I spit.
Right.
And there is a plum-colored blood that's spat to the side on the grass.
Oh. So you are not immune to its effects. Interesting.
I
Still
Leah
mortal.
and hard. What do you
Alright.
mean by that? Did
Well,
you know?
I suspected, but wait. Before you get angry at me, I have a little trick that I learned from my apprentice.
Can you play the sound effect of the time rewind for me? As Hard moves his hands through the air, we see some birds fly backwards. We see the sky shift back a little bit. The sun and shadows move a little bit. And you guys see Sia step up to the mirror. And Hard says,
Wait. Before you ask it your questions, yes, this is going to hurt you. Now, I conducted a little test, and I figured it out. Do not worry. But be careful when you ask questions in the mirror. You will get the answers from the angel, but the angel is going to hurt you? No. I think you cannot handle the angel's power, perhaps. Still mortal after all.
Is my hit point maximum back to what it was?
yeah, we went, so for the four of you,
Right.
none of that just happened.
So I don't remember that at all.
You were about to ask your first question, and yeah, you don't remember any of it. Thrak, I feel like maybe has some idea that he did some bullshit there, that Hard did some bullshit. But he continues and says,
Yes, you will asking it 3 questions. But it seems that it will take something from you. You must be careful which questions that you ask it.
Turning away from him, I suppose I repeat this process.
Wait. You are going to ask it what we should do.
Obviously.
Yes, it will come back with some facetious answer, putting its arms behind its back, and say that you must save the world. And then you will say to it, which way will we save the world? And it says that you must maybe perhaps go and find the spear and kill the angel Mordriel with the angel spear, which is already the plan, so it was a waste of some of your energy. And then you will ask it, where is this spear? Is it in this realm with us? And it will say yes. The last it was able to know, it was in Ku.
In Ku.
Ku is the place that is in the very... it is the place where I mentioned that the very small monastery and sect of monks live in the most northwest area of the world, and it is a secret place with a secret angel called Elneus, deep within the mountains, and nobody speaks of this place because they don't want it to become common knowledge because of the powers of Elneus.
So it's both in the Feywild in this realm, yet at the same time also in Ku, or am I misunderstanding this?
Well, this you aren't in the Feywild's plane. This is an enchantment. This forest is actually here. You are in a. They created a magic barrier that hides this forest from
Understood.
the rest of the Nolan's forest.
All right.
So you're not actually on a different plane of existence.
Okay, well, I suppose if our questions about our task have been answered, what am I to ask it now? I mean, I have a mind or two as to what I could ask it. How badly did it hurt, I say?
You grabbed at your heart and you were about to spit up blood.
I'll take a step back.
I approach this mirror and I go to the edge of it and touch it. anything happen?
No, it feels just like a mirror. It feels like glass. Cool to the touch.
I'd like to see if I can understand the weave of arcane magic that created this being.
Yeah, Hard is watching you very carefully as you do this. You can roll me an Arcana check with advantage. Cirrus, you can roll me an insight check as well.
Okay.
I got a 24. Also, I wanted to mention that I did try to study Jilden's face when the mention of Elneus came up. I don't know if she's
Jilden?
looking at
There was
us.
a flicker across her face, a sort of widening of the eyes in mild disbelief that his name had even been mentioned by somebody. And then quickly attempting to mask it down and pretend.
I got a 24, the Arcana check.
Yeah, you understand some stuff about this, Angel. The weave as it exists is there's layers to this stuff. It's quantum, right? So there's a lot of things going on. The schools of magic are predominantly they're almost like lenses through which to focus mana, energy, arcane frequencies, whatever you might want to call them. The angels just operate on a deeper frequency. They aren't focused through one of those mortal lenses that people. The way that the angels operate is very alien to the way that your brain perceives things and has to understand things. In the same way that we can't see like infrared. The schools of magic are just the frequencies that we can see and hear and understand. So they've been kind of cut up into those 8 different schools. Underneath of that, there are some other layers of magic. One of them you understand being that sort of nature magic, the kind of thing that Jilden uses to transform into animals. It's not really a school of magic. It's just tapping into the fucking life stream directly and just using it to just shape her body and become the thing that she wants to become. And the same goes for a lot of the divine magics that Cirrus uses, the healing magics and things like that. She's just pulling straight from the divine energy of the angels, which is just pure mana. It's just pure magic. And that's really all the angels are. They are just these ancient creatures, though. This is a living creature in front of you as well. This is completely a living creature. The same as the birds here, the phase stag, yourselves. They just operate they're just very weird and very different. Does that answer your question?
I would like to try and, if I can, isolate the thread or stream of magic that is causing harm to us when using this angel.
Okay.
Gain knowledge.
Give me another Arcana check. Got to roll really high.
Okay, no problem. 24.
Not high enough. It's close. It's very close. You start trying to isolate those layers, and you have to move through the 8 schools of magic, and now you're looking at the deeper weave. You're looking at this thing that it's no longer threads that are easily and singularly isolated. It's just pure magic. It's just pure. You're running on pure instinct to try and figure out what's what here. It becomes a lot more of a game of trying to find a needle in a haystack than previously. the layers of difficulty have just gone on to nightmare mode for you as you start moving through this. You do isolate the ability to recognize the differences between the divine magic, the angels magic, nature-based magic, some other things going on in here. The issue isn't that you understand it, or that you don't understand it, and it isn't that you can't isolate it. It's just that it's kind of a ridiculous prospect to try and control it, to try and shape it. It's just bigger than you are. You actually do have an element of this divine angel magic moving and coursing through your body, and so do the other people here with the Quura mark. You are able to recognize that Hard doesn't have this. This angel, as well as the other angels and the energy of the angels magic in the weave, is bolstering all four of you. You're enhanced. You're stronger. You're better. You're faster. You've got a better understanding of magic. You've got a better connection to nature, and you've got resistance to interfacing with this magic, or interfacing with the type of magic that the angels would inflict upon a mortal. This is the type of thing that where you're just trying to interact with a radioactive isotope directly again. And it isn't that you don't have the ability to, and it isn't that you don't have the resistance or anything like that. It's just not possible, really, for you to do, because no one is, because you are ultimately still mortal. And so you cannot interface with something this powerful without it doing some sort of harm to you. Roll me another Arcana check with advantage again.
16.
Okay. Roll me a D4.
Mm-hmm. Four.
You nullify some of the damage. It takes you a little while. Maybe you explain to the others, give me a moment here, and you start to work on something. You begin incanting, you begin chanting, you begin writing stuff down, and then you start creating a little enchantment of your own, a little homebrew enchantment as you write down this thing. You piece together a way to enhance your resistance to this angel's damage. From now on, instead of rolling a d4 plus another number here, you only take the amount of damage equal to the other number. So Sia rolled a d4 plus 3.
3d4 plus 3, yeah.
If he were to re-roll that again now, it would just be that he takes the flat 3. He wouldn't roll the d4. You've removed the d4 from the damage.
Wow. That's crazy.
Well, yeah, I'd explain that I significantly reduced the potential amount of harm this could cause us. But we should still choose our questions wisely. And I think I should be the one to ask them.
Can I interrupt first? Why did I have to roll an insight? And I rolled a 23.
You understood a lot of what Thrak was doing then. It wasn't that you just understood on an instinctual level how he was interfacing with this angel. He placed his hand on the angel, and while he was working this out manually, he was just counting ones and twos, he was coding. Yeah. He was sitting there typing away and coding. You understood a lot of that on an instinctual level. Everything I just said about the angel's source of magic, nature-based magic, just pure mana, the way that people are able to just draw divine energy straight up out of the angels, is something that you kind of osmose that just then.
Whoa. Holy.
You felt it though. You didn't think it.
Yeah. Holy. Okay. Cool. I'm in a crisis, but it's fine. It's gonna be fine. Wow.
That's my mantra. Getting back to the roleplay. You gonna do anything with that?
With that information
Yeah,
that I
you're
just
still
got?
going. Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you. I just had to make a joke.
Oh, no.
Desperate for attention.
That was like, I experienced all of that, and you can continue saying what you were saying. Sorry to interrupt. Thank you.
No, not at all. So I guess I say that, and then, is there anything we think would be worth asking?
Well, I suppose the first question should be, how do we acquire the angel spear? No?
They're going, well, I'm not sure, with my rolls before, was I able to discern, I wasn't looking for this specifically, so I'll probably have to roll again. Was the answers so frustratingly useless because it came from Sia?
You didn't see it. Time went back.
Oh, that's right. Okay. But he was the one that asked the questions.
He was the one, but you didn't. Yeah,
also
only Hard witnessed that.
But he did say, I can't remember the word you used, but he said on the first question, like, he gave a flippant response or something like that.
Yeah.
He asked where the spear was. Like, obviously we don't know this,
right?
But he asked where it was, and then he said it's here.
Before
like,
that, I asked, what are we to do next? And he said, you are to save the world, is what he said.
Yeah. And Hard did sort of hint that he was like, you, Sia, made a, useless response.
That's probably something that Thrak, because of the way Thrak interacts with Sia, would probably think on his own, but no.
I swear he said something like that. Right. I'll ask that question. So I'll step up to the mirror. I think I'm curious. I want to see how this works. I'm willing to take the risk. Once we take the tower to, I'm sorry, what is it called again?
North. K-U-U.
Now, I thought it was northeastern. You're saying it's northwestern?
Northwest.
Okay.
You're in
to
the
this
northeast. You're pretty close.
Right, okay. Once we take the tower to the northwesternmost Taku, how do we then get the spear?
That's the end of the question.
End of question.
The version of you that's in the mirror that you're speaking to is looking at you as you say the answer, and then immediately it brings the staff into itself. It kind of moves its hand and begins moving independently of you and looking across the others, glancing at Jilden first and then back at you, and it says, well, the thing is, I don't really know where the spear is. angels can't know where the spear is. That's the problem. Because we can't use it to destroy another angel. So it's a secret. Even from us. That is the first thing what you people made. The mortals. The only thing I know is the last time that I heard about it, it was a coup.
I would
You
turn
need to
to-
reduce your maximum hit points by 1.
by 1? Okay.
Yeah, a sharp
question.
stabbing pain in your heart.
I grasp at my chest and I go ahead and ask your question. Why?
No. The question was so it's 1 max HP per question instead of 1d4 plus 1.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That is so absolutely clutch. I can't even believe how crazy it is that you were able to do
I can
that.
ask 47 more questions before I die. No problem. Wizards stand in the back, right? I turn to Jilden. Is she looking at me?
Absolutely not. Looking anywhere but at you.
Okay. I approach her. Jilden,
What?
I believe this is why you are part of us.
Why?
You know what?
I have been stood far away from the mirror, deliberately not wanting to be any part of whatever is happening, so I haven't heard any of the conversation.
Oh, okay. You don't know anything that's going on. All right. Well, you did look when he said Elneas.
I heard the name. It's
Okay.
like I'm attuned to that specific name. Like a cat's ears pricking up.
I think you should listen to my next question.
It's like it's like I'm warring with myself right now.
It's what you seek.
How do you know what I seek?
Being petulant.
Come. I'll try to take her hand and guide her.
Snatch it away. I take a step with you after you start walking and hang out behind you.
Yeah. I walk up to the mirror and I ask, it, is Elneas still there?
The version of you in the mirror starts moving about. It
Dare you?
thinks for a moment, looks at you, looks at Jilden, looks back at you. Now, if you're asking me about the Elneas, the angel that lives on top of the mountain. The coup. Is it still there? Technically, yes. Is it dead? Technically, yes. But if you're asking me about the creature that presented itself as Elnaeus to Gildan, well then that one, while it is not Elnaeus, is absolutely still about. Wiley.
What?
What is it talking about?
What?
What do you mean?
Nice question. All right, first, the so I actually fucked up the damage that you took earlier on Myre. You would have taken an extra 3, I think. No, you would have taken an extra 5. Thrak, you take 2 damage this time, permanent.
Okay.
You reduce your HP by 2.
Oh, I see.
So it increases every time.
Gildan says, "What do you mean?" to the mirror.
Yeah.
The version of Thrak that was moving around kind of continues to move about on its own, but the version of Gildan snaps her head towards Gildan and says,
What do I mean? You think that was Elnaeus? It's not Elnaeus. It was a fiend using you, getting you to go around and do things for its own horrible little needs.
No. These are lies. This is why you don't listen to angels and things like that. None of them are real. They're all just charlatans pretending. I storm off, away from the mirror.
you take 1 hit point of damage, permanent reduction.
I casually stride up to the mirror. Arms crossed. I look into my reflection and I ask, can you see into the future before the future happens?
The version of you remains arms crossed. Are your eyes on your forehead open or closed?
So, canonically, the eyes on my forehead before we set out on our quest never really opened, if ever. Maybe when we were fighting, perhaps using a key point, one would open. As we've been exploring and, as I've gotten to know our group and as we've been doing things, they've kind of taken more of a character. However, in this moment, amongst this mirror, they are shut again. I am just using my eyes in my eye sockets.
They all flicker open. But the figure of you remains still in the mirror, arms crossed. The figure says, well, the future is a tricky thing. Can I see into the future? Yes. But does it change from moment to moment? Yes. That's the problem with time and portents. The eyes on the forehead flicker closed, but the 2 eyes on the front of Mirror Seer look at Cirrus when it says portents, prophecies, as it looks back to you. Especially when you're dealing with something as bizarre as Mordriel.
Are we up to the task?
You suffer
Is our quest
1
folly?
damage. Are you up to the task? Well, I suppose if you're asking me how it looks for you, no. I don't think anyone's up to the task. I think it's already over. If your task is to save the world, is to destroy Mordriel. However, If your task is to figure out some other way, perhaps escape your wretched fate, there's a possibility. Then again, a spear created Mordril. Perhaps it can undo him too.
As he's
You take
speaking,
2
I
damage. Yep.
put a hand on Seer's shoulder and I step forward and I say, "You said that it's already over, that it's already been done. Is there a way to stop it before it begins?"
The version of Cirrus in the mirror, frowning as you say this. The expression on her face kind of softens a little bit, the frown turning to a kind of a sort of a forlorn look, and she says, "I think it's already been done. I think it's already begun. Unless you're talking about going back."
Yes. That's what I mean. Is it possible?
You would have to go back to the beginning, to the start.
When was the start?
The start of time. When the gods created Gaia and Gaia.
Was it an error?
Careful.
Or did they make it this way?
Careful.
The gods made it this way. I know not why. But this world, ours, this was the second Gaia created. The first my kind, the angels, were malevolent, violent, and they were given souls. I call it Gaia Zero. At the same time, the gods created Gaia 1. Here, the angels were soulless. If you were to go back to then, perhaps you could stop all of this. But I think you would fail.
Well, I like our odds, considering this mirror thinks we'll fail regardless.
You
Cirrus.
take 3 damage, Cirrus.
Mm-hmm.
She asked 3 questions, didn't she?
Asked 3 questions.
Yeah, so it's not 3, it's I keep messing it up. It's 3, 2, 3.
Wait, what?
6 damage.
You take 6 damage.
6. Okay.
It increases by 1 each question you ask.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was saying careful.
He was trying to
Before you
stop
drop
you.
dead
Meanwhile,
asking
that whole
questions.
time your heart is in your chest, starting to feel like you have terrible heartburn.
I've been in worse pain. I barely noticed. Okay.
Right.
If
Well, did Thrak hear that by any chance? Or was he still consoling Gildan?
she walked off. I'm still
Right.
stood here.
Okay.
if... I'm not looking at the mirror, I'm looking to my companions. If we go back... I wonder...
Can we go back? Do we have that power that... Yes, so easily.
I look
I
to
said we
Thrag.
can. I didn't say we... It would be easy.
Thrag. Are you willing to
Yes.
ask more questions?
Did you have one in mind?
Was the soul the difference?
I wonder...
The angels having souls, did it make them
Yes.
evil?
I wonder if this angel doing this is not from this world.
I don't
I
know,
don't
it seems pretty
know.
soulless to me.
Oh, stones.
I-
You're right.
I don't know if knowing that for certain would help us in any way.
What does it want?
What,
Does
the
he
mirror?
want? The
You-
Mordriel.
Who-
You
He
asked the mirror
wants us
that?
all to
Oh,
die.
sorry.
I turned back to the mirror. Okay, I'm like on a run, and I've had a crazy day. Okay, I'm like intuiting the connection of the weave. The gods, the angels have no soul. My religion, what is happening? So I turn back to the mirror. What does Mordriel really want?
Mirror Cirrus rests her good arm on the pommel of her longsword for a moment, contemplating, and says, Mordriel is in pain. I believe there are two things that he wants. One is vengeance on the gods that created him. And two, he does not wish to be alone anymore. But that is his curse. Mordriel
His
is
curse.
trying to kill everything to draw out the gods.
But they will not be drawn out.
No response.
I turn to my compatriots and I look at them, face stone, but hands to my sides, and I say, it looks like we have two choices then, realistically. Choice one, we find the spear, we look for this Mordriel, we end him, and the world remains the same. Quite the folly. Or we die. The second one, we go back in time and try and face him there in the hour of his birth and stop him there and then.
Or we don't stop him. We give him what he wants.
You want to be his friend.
Would it help?
I'm not so
Is it-
sure. Will it help?
Is it not the difference between misery and darkness? A family? Of one's own?
Forgive me if this comes off as maybe perhaps a bit sharp, but do you consider yourself worthy to be kin to an angel?
I don't mean me. I just mean, if they say that nothing can stop it, it was built wrong. It was built broken. So maybe we build it right.
Okay, now
Maybe
you are mad.
Mordriel, if given a different beginning, a different story, we all want something. And I know that there's no guarantee that he could simply become evil in another way, but do you not feel alone, Seer? Were you not glad for us, for this bond, no matter how much you resent it or fight it or embitter it? Do you not feel more whole? You don't
I
have to
narrow
love
my
your
eyes.
family.
Far be it from how I, a mortal, feel, Cirrus. You're
don't
still
understand.
proposing that what? We change how a god is conceived in the first place.
I know it
How?
sounds insane. Yeah, I don't know. But if an angel tells me that the only way to fix something is by making sure it's not broken in the first place, I wonder if it's possible. And I'll have you know, up until this point, when we first met, we had no clue that we would be here. If someone were to tell us that we were to be Quura, we wouldn't believe it. Someone were to tell us that we would be able to traverse how we've gone all this way, if we'd enter the House of Knowledge, speak to angels. We never would have thought that we would be capable, possible. Yes, of course, there's the way that we, as you said, we find the spear, we bring it back to the dragon, and the dragon kills Mordriel, and then what? If this angel tells us true, then that doesn't change anything. It's already over. We just kill Mordriel along with all the other angels, and now there's just one more angel dead.
Well, that's precisely what I mean. The world as we know it right now, from this mirror's telling, is forfeit, whether we kill this angel or not. However, could we go back in time, using Thrax's abilities, find Mordriel there, in the hour of its conception, and slay him then we will save the world. Because this won't happen, but the world still will. Either way, I believe we are forfeit.
You think that it makes more sense that we mortals would be able to slay Mordriel at the moment of his conception, but to befriend him? Or to create a family for him?
God and create a family. I'm sorry, but I think maybe perhaps your horns are on a bit too tight there. I'm not too sure exactly what you mean. I'm not following what you're saying. What are you talking about? What do you mean by family? What do you mean?
What is Eyes of the Mother, Seer?
I beg your pardon.
Eyes of the Mother. What does it mean?
Why this? Why now?
Why not now? Why not this?
I bite my lip so hard I think my lip bleeds. The eyes on my forehead open into a small squint, staring at her, shaking ever so slightly at her. I look away. I don't tilt my head, but my eyes look past her. What do you mean?
Why did he call you that?
I wonder. wonder. I cross my arms at Cirrus.
I don't think you do, Seer. I don't think you do wonder. I think you know. But I'm going to show you what family means right now. I don't care what it means. I take you as you are.
And you don't know what family is where I come from.
Right. Just as Mordriel doesn't know what family is where he comes from. Perhaps there's other ways.
How? I lift a hand, waving it to her. My wrist tilts back and forth. We have an instrument to destroy this creature. But what do you propose we do when we get there? That makes no sense. That baffles me. Family makes no sense.
After everything, it makes no sense.
In the context that you're talking about, yes, it makes zero sense.
Do you realize, just think for a moment, do you realize that the one thing chosen, the one thing the angels believe that can stop Mordriel is a bond?
I
Do you think that's coincidence? Destruction begets destruction. Death begets death. You kill one thing, it kills another. The only thing that can provide life is life. Love, safety, family, a bond.
Surely the reason why a bond is so important to these angels is the fact that they can't make one themselves because they have no soul, right?
Is that all that can create a bond?
You tell me, you seem to be an expert in it.
Far from. I'm guessing just as much as you are. But I suppose it's just a version of the world you'd rather live in.
I wouldn't go that far, but it's what I know.
Eyes of the mother, right?
I squint again. Don't say those words as if you know what that means.
I could carry it for you, you know. You could tell me.
Perhaps.
You don't have to. But you can.
I look away from her again.
I'm
Sid
sorry.
doesn't usually have much of an emotion on his face when talking candidly to people. There is a way that he talks that through this time that you've been in his presence, you know, adventuring with him and all that, talking, eating. There are 2 or 3, maybe perhaps even 4 different seers that you may have noticed. Perhaps an inside check at this point might maybe perhaps allow me to divulge more, feel like I could. Maybe perhaps you'd
Can I
like
do
to
an
roll.
insight check?
Sure.
I would love to do an insight check. 25. I know you real well now.
25. Alright. There are many seers that you've seen so far. When you first met Seer back in Moon, he was a bit reserved, polite when he had to be, otherwise he was kind of to himself. Perhaps only maybe really Jildan would, when in her way, with her foot scrubs and all that, kind of get past that, and maybe perhaps you might see more. However, in that time, generally, he was business first. He'd be curt, but he'd always be helpful. In terms of playing about, in terms of, you know, those mannerisms, always it was only the 2 eyes in his head. You didn't realize that the marks on his forehead were eyes. until the world was ending and there was a giant that was trying to smash down the mountainside that we had to repel just its hand. And in that time, they were opening and they seemed to kind of do their own thing, but generally speaking, they were part of that. It was only really after Seer walked through that portal between spaces when we were going to see the trees, that he would use them almost as if they were his face, that they would open and he'd be more free to use them per se. That moment when he lost his fear, it seemed as if maybe perhaps there was a different person that you'd noticed. Somebody who, yes, he's a bastard. One of the biggest bastards you've ever met, but he still was always helpful. Every single time you asked him a question, even if it was curt, even if it was insulting your intelligence, the answer would be within it. And that remains to be the case. But what was your question?
It's just an insight check. She
Yeah.
just
Right.
read your
'Cause-
entire beginning.
Yeah. Based on the conversation that we just had,
Mm.
I said, like, you could tell me.
I think everything down to even his body language, you've noticed, everything is deliberate.
Okay. I turn to the mirror. I look at him, and I look at Thrak, and I look at Jilden. And this is so dumb, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I say to the mirror, tell them why I came to Moon. Can you tell them who I am? What happened to me? What brought me here?
The version of you in the mirror looks at you, looks at the others in a similar way that you did, and then begins to speak. But I'm going to let you do it.
Okay.
Be as truthful as it possibly can.
Okay.
I am going to telepathically repeat these words to Jordan.
You were born of two families. Your mother, an elf. Your father, dragonborn. They fell in love amidst war, battle, disease. And they had you. They tried to make life enough for you. But it wasn't going to be. And so you left them. Nowhere wanted you. Not a single place. You joined a war band. And there you learned what camaraderie could be, brotherhood. You thought it was family. You fought many battles. You made a father. Another one. Eventually, came the day of your dark night. Your war father was killed, and in vengeance, you took blade to that who killed him. It was only then that you realized, as he fell, that it was your father who had returned to war. Both dead. One of your own hand. Your brother's gone. Your father's gone. Your mother. Gone. Nowhere was yours. And you were never meant to be. And you heard a call from a mountain. And so you went to Moon. And there you tried to learn not to be angry, not to be lonely. There you tried to learn not to be you, to be something else, something that could be loved, something that could be wanted. And now you're in a bond. Is that enough?
You take 5 damage.
I put my hand on Sirius's shoulder and say, "You must stop asking questions or we will lose you."
I'm all right. I nod and I look to Seer. And then I kneel down on the ground in a prayer position and close my eyes.
Watching you the whole time has been hard as he paces up and down behind you, listening to you each ask the questions, and he steps forward and says,
I think we could have asked better questions. Are you feeling alright? Each of you.
I'm fine.
Good.
Ichi.
You must be cautious. You are resistant to the angel's powers, as Thor's predicted. Which means you are resistant, potentially, to Mordriel's powers of death. But there have been many Quura, and you are the last.
When you say many Quura and we are the last, are you to imply that many before us have tried to fight Mordriel, or what purpose has a Quura had before us?
Oh, yes. Yes, well, from what I understand, and from my travels, everyone is dead. There are a few creatures, there are some in the mountains nearby, who will certainly be dead of their own devices soon enough. There are the beings in this forest. There are some underwater. But I was unable to find anywhere else. I traveled the world over. I went to Ku, I went to the Barbarous Lands. I even went to the Lernian Kingdom. I went to Kissa, to Dragonfall. Everywhere is wasted. I think I even bumped into Mordriel himself in the Tyran Empire, and I think that is what has happened to my arm.
A firm handshake, then.
There have been many Quura. It is a known phenomenon. It is not common, but you are not the first, but you are the last. The other ones, where are they? I believe the last of them have gone. I do not want to do this, but I will try something. I will need your help, Thrak.
What are you going to do?
Well, I can cast my spell one more time.
we still have a chance to ask it questions when you're finished.
How do you feel? I do not want to see one of you fall and my spell fails.
I feel fine. I've only asked it 2 questions.
You have been present, however, for all of this. If that steel trap of yours is as strong as everyone in Moon thinks it is, then maybe perhaps we could rely on you to tell us what it is that we'd learned. However, I turn to Cirrus. Certain sacrifices have been made today. I do feel as if the power of such a sacrifice would be moot should you just turn back the clock.
It is your choice. I can continue like this.
Right. Very well. I will wait. But I think I can try again. I am not as proficient as Thrak. But I do have a few tricks up this sleeve.
He lifts his slung arm.
I'll turn to the mirror and I'll ask myself, how do I convince Jilden that the angels are not all evil beings that are using her like that creature did?
Mirror Thrak looks at you and says, "Well, I think I'll let Jilden answer that." Mirror Jilden turns to you and answers the question. Yeah, I can't do it. So, Mirror Jilden says,
And the problem is, how do you convince her in the first place that that's even the truth? She'll never believe you. Not a chance in hell. If you think you need to convince her that not all angels are evil because she's been hoodwinked by an angel, and you don't know children very well. Clearly, there's not a bone within either of our bodies that would ever truly believe we have been hoodwinked. Faith is a strange thing, even when it is misplaced.
Right.
take the appropriate amount of damage.
Okay.
Take the appropriate.
Can't remember how much you're up to. 3.
Sorry.
Yeah, that was the third one. And then I would like to, in a soft voice, the mirror, say, how do I, and the rest of it cannot be heard by the others. And I will DM you that question.
Okay.
If that's all right. And that's 4 damage, 4 more damage, so I've taken quite a bit. I've taken 10. Oh,
I think you're banking on Hard's reversal, right?
no.
No.
I can survive with 39 hit points. I never take damage.
You never take damage yet.
You never take damage yet.
Rarely take damage.
42 is going to be rough for me, but it was worth it. Call me when I'm literally in death throes. I go. I don't know if it was worth it. I could have just told him over tea.
Hard steps forward. Looking over each of you, he says,
Well, why don't you just ask the mirror what the fuck is going on?
I believe we've already asked that question before.
Get some answers from it. Some hard answers that we can use. Information that we can use. What is our enemy? A big lonely angel. I don't
And-
know if we can fix it with a hug or with a fucking spear, but you should ask the mirror. Ask the mirror where it comes from. What is its weakness?
I believe its weakness is a big fucking spear. Isn't that why we're here?
And I believe it comes from another world. So I am making an assumption.
Do you think we have time to learn how to go back to the beginning? And how are we going to get to this other Gaia?
Are we to go back to the other Gaia or just to this? I wasn't quite following the Gaia 0, 1, and 2, but
You have
those
two
even matter?
plans, right? You
Right.
are going to go and get the spear, give it to Riothamus, and kill him here. Or you are going to go back and Cirrus is going to give him a hug and friendship.
well, I thought that perhaps that is maybe plan C, D, maybe even plan O. Could we not just take the spear back to the beginning of time as well and kill him then? That way, everything that has been still will be safe for us. Or is
Ask
that
the
too
fucking
heroic?
mirror.
It might be better off if I don't ask it.
Well,
I'm not asking it any more questions.
Odds.
neither am I.
Hard's got like his staff out and he's like hitting the glass.
It's making an awful grinding
It's
noise.
making a weird grinding noise in the background.
All right, why don't we just let Hod use his power and start over?
Hmm.
How many times can you do that, by the way?
I did not even know I could do it once.
I don't like how that sounds.
This is strong magic. It is more than that which I understand. The angel's magic is something that is very much a mystery to me. It does not always make sense. It defies logic at times. Therefore, it is harder to shape, to control.
What you're saying is there's a risk involved and we can't just keep playing this loop.
This is what I am afraid of, yes. It is why I do not want you to kill yourselves, in case I cannot go back.
We could try.
Let's try. We
Shall
need
I ask?
answers. more than anything
Shall I ask
else.
this last question then we revert?
All right.
I approach the mirror. I look at the entity in the mirror eye to eye. And I ask, should we go back to the beginning of the creation of this world, to the inception of this deity, this angel, this Mordrill we're after? Can we take the spear with us? And if we do, can we kill it?
Myre Seer sighs. Well, you could certainly try. The only problem with your plan is that the lizard folk over there already tried that and failed. The thing that is heading straight for us, the eyes flicker open and close again, and it looks beyond you, and then comes back and fixes its eyes on you again, Seer, is a little more than it was before. The spear didn't work on it in its world, so I don't know if the spear would work on it in ours. Well, that's inaccurate. The spear did work. Mordrill just came back.
He came back.
Yes, that was another question. So you take, you take whatever you take. What is that? What question? do you
So
want to take?
-4, then -5.
Hard says,
Now ask it where I lost my toothbrush.
Just make a new one.
I really liked it.
he sort of wanders off. He's moving around in circles, his feet splashing in the very shallow pool of water, the robes dragging through it.
Well, I don't think I liked what I got from that. It didn't seem as if it didn't bode well. If he simply comes back, if we go to the beginning of time and kill him then who knows how long it will take for him to come back here. If these lizard folk, these wretches that keep following us around the place are just what we want, what if they are our future? Does it matter? Does any of this matter?
Shall we do this one more time, Had?
All right, I will try. First of all, Thwack, will you help me?
Yeah, I nod and stand next to him.
How many charges of your reverse time thing do you have too?
Yeah.
Do you want to give him one or two of those?
Oh, for him to do this right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give him both.
Permanently?
Is it permanent?
No.
Oh!
You are helping him by consuming 2 of those charges.
Forever?
No, not forever.
Oh,
just now, right
just
now.
for until I recharge. Okay, yeah, both.
I don't want to forget Sirius's story.
It's fine. I've made my peace with it.
I assume we're going to record it all and tell you.
Hard says,
Alright. Let's see if I can do this again, but I am feeling a little bit tired. And I am not fully sure how it works. But I will try.
Give me the sound effect. Turns back time. Let me roll a dice. Or hard. I'll roll it in here. So he has a +5. This. A 23. Okay.
Good roll.
How much damage did each of you take in total?
I took 15.
Okay.
1.
I took 12
12. How'd you take 12?
because I said oh, and then that counted.
It should be 1, 3, 6, 10, 15 is the increments.
Then 15.
I took 10.
15, 15, 10, and 1. So, Jildan, you get that 1 back. 2 of you roll me a d15, 1 of you roll me a d10. That's how much you get back.
Oh, shit. Okay. This is going to be a 1. I can almost
God
guarantee
damn
it.
it.
Oh, I rolled a 10,
Wow.
baby!
Oh my
I rolled
God.
a 10!
Which means someone will
12.
get one.
12's not so bad, dude. Oh no!
I'll tank!
Oh
I'll
no!
Sia rolls
Sorry.
a 1.
That was
Oh,
so bad.
no.
I had to say it.
That means I remember Sirius's story. That's my
No, you
taking
don't.
that.
You don't remember any of
No?
it. You.
and I only get 1 HP back.
Yep.
Oh fuck. Oh, that's
You're-
such a raw deal.
Sia
Oh, no.
steps up to the mirror again for the first time. And Hard goes,
Wait. Don't do that. Before you ask your question, I know what you are going to ask. I have done this twice now. You can stop looking at me like that. It has been you have been asking questions, it will hurt you. Blah 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 blah.
and he starts explaining everything. He explains it pretty well. He tells you everything that you learned. He just goes over it. Even going in, he begins talking about Alneus as if he doesn't even have any sort of awareness of the reaction that Jildan will have. He could have kept that back, you know. Doesn't. Explains everything 1-1. After sort of catching you all up, he's pacing up and down in this water. At the end, he says,
How do you feel, though? Because I was not able to do this spell with perfect accuracy, so I think perhaps you might be feeling a little sore. I believe it affects the heart.
Ah, no, I feel pretty.
It did not work.
he looks to
I
the other
feel-
3.
I look fine. I feel great. I feel normal.
I do feel some pain, but it's not very bad.
My power is not
question.
strong enough to counter that of the angel, and I am sorry, Seer.
Since I assisted him, do I recall everything?
Oh.
How did you assist him?
Got me. Well, I
Can't we just
stood next to
get flavory? I have no idea what you guys did.
get flavory. All right. So, I imagine that he's trying to perfect his putt, right? So I stood behind him, wrapped my arms around him. No.
Oh.
I think we both stood next to each other and closed our eyes and I started doing movements, and he was watching me, and he started doing the same movements with me, and then time just started to, there's like a bubble around us, and time just started to, you know, shift back, on rewind, as it were.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that you remember it.
All right.
He hits you with his staff softly, Thrak,
Yeah.
and says,
Now ask it where, fuck it. Ask it everything. Tell it to tell us everything it knows about Mordriel. That way it will tell us the entire thing from start to finish, no? It will tell us where he came from, what created him, what happened to his Gaia, how he came here, what the fuck he is doing right now.
Alright, I walk up to
Charlotte.
the angel and I say, what is every fucking last thing you know about Mordriel?